Hi guys, I'm Michelle Tipton. I am the Biotechnology Coordinator interim right now. I'm teaching a variety of courses like Biology 2 and Molecular Genetics. I completed my bachelor's at the University of Rhode Island in Marine Biology, and then I went on to get my master's at Central Connecticut State University, where I know a lot of you transfer to, in Ecology and Environmental Science. And then I continued on for my PhD at Wesleyan University in Biology. And so what led me to all this biology and science was that I grew up pretty much on the bay in Rhode Island, and I was always in love with fish, and I wanted to study the ocean and organisms. And so I actually had this opportunity in high school to do that, to actually go out for the summer for a whole week and go out and watch whales and record their songs and then do a little study on figuring out how the noises were affecting them. And that's when I fell in love with science. That's when I decided I wanted to be a scientist. And so from that point on, I just kept going and kept earning my degrees, and all that knowledge really helps create the basis for doing whatever you want with it. And so I did things like work with the DEP and the US EPA on big ecosystem projects, and then eventually I took my field work and combined it with laboratory work. So you can really start marrying a lot of different techniques, and that's when I explored molecular biology. And using that in the laboratory, I was extracting DNA from fishes, so I came back around to fish again. And I was doing some really, what I considered fun, exciting studies. So what I want to tell you guys about today is in terms of what you can do with your majors and what you can do with biotechnology is similar to biology and similar to most of the sciences. You can do with it whatever you want. You're laying the groundwork. You're laying this foundation of science in order to enable you to do lots of jobs. And so in biotechnology, the primary position is at the associate's level would be a laboratory technician. So you can walk into the laboratory and you can do all that base work, and there's plenty of jobs out there for that. Right now, biotechnology is a little above average for job employment. Many students who go into biology or chemistry, they end up deciding what their interests are as they go. And again, you know, you're choosing based on what you find interesting. So whether you like the bigger organisms or the smaller organisms like bacteria and viruses, you can choose to study that. So job fields that you could go into would include medical diagnostics, or maybe you wanted to do forensic science and do helping in the criminal field. You could also do genetic engineering and making new kinds of foods. You could do sequencing, or you could do pharmaceutical drug research. There's really a lot of different paths for you to go down. The most traditional path for biotechnology is a person who's, again, like a technician in the laboratory, so mostly doing laboratory research, and you're part of a bigger project. And that's actually something that I think is really exciting, is that you get to be on the forefront of science, discovering new things and helping with inventions, which is really exciting in Connecticut because Connecticut's really investing in that right now. You'll hear things like the biosciences grant that the government's investing in, and UConn and Stem Cell and Jackson Laboratory. These are all really big things in Connecticut right now that are being invested in, and you guys can be part of that investment by pursuing these types of sciences. In terms of what we offer here at Middlesex, I just want to highlight a few of the courses that help prepare you really well to be a technician in the laboratory. And I know this because I've spoken with the industry folks, and they are very impressed with what we have to offer here. Things like molecular genetics and internships, instrumental analysis classes where you're doing a lot of the chemistry work, you're working with the equipment. And because we have small classrooms, everybody becomes really, really well skilled. Where I'll be going right after this is actually to join up with my group in the laboratory because we're working on those molecular genetics skills today. What I would recommend for students who are considering a major in this field is do it if you have a real interest in science. Do it if you think you might actually really enjoy and love science in any way, shape, or form. You can definitely marry your techniques, and these techniques make you employable. Whether, again, it's for the organisms, like working with plants, or working with animals, or working with bacteria and viruses. This really sets the stage for you to help in discovery, help in doing new things every day, being part of a team. If those kinds of things interest you, I would recommend biotechnology. And also just to give a little props to the biotech program, we're revising it right now, we're updating it. So we're adding a lot of new exciting courses that will be happening in the next coming years here at the college.
How I decided on my major, I think I actually recently just moved my mom to Connecticut to live closer to me. And when we were going through a lot of my younger days' work, I found a little book that I had written probably in the 4th or 5th grade and it was asking me what I wanted to do when I grow up. And I read it. And my dad was always a registered nurse and kind of followed that pathway, and I had watched that growing up, and I had said I either want to be a registered nurse like my dad or I want to be a veterinarian, and I had written a book like that. So I've kind of had my career track in mind for quite a long time. I was lucky enough and fortunate enough that during high school, when I was of age, I think about 14 or 15 years old, I started working for a local veterinarian close to me after school. And it was then that I really thought that was something that I really wanted to do. And I haven't changed my mind yet. As far as occupations that this field allows you to enter, kind of like what Michelle was talking about, I think the veterinary field has a lot of different pathways that you're able to follow. It's an amazing career where you can be a focused veterinary technician, or you can take that veterinary technician degree and you can pursue bachelor's degrees, biotechnology degrees, pharmaceutical degrees. You can go on for veterinary medicine and become a veterinarian if you so choose. A lot of people may go on for MPAs and Masters of Public Health degrees. A lot of occupations out there can be within pharmaceutical sales. We think about veterinary technicians and veterinarians as small animals and dogs and cats, but it goes well beyond that with, we need veterinarians for bovine medicine and large animal medicine. We need veterinarians and technicians at zoos, pharmaceuticals research, and teaching. And so as far as education, I'm lucky enough and probably an example of a veterinarian who can wear a couple different hats in the profession, where I do work full-time in an emergency clinic at Piper Olson, and then also have a great experience being able to be an educator at the same time. So lots of different career options for you. A traditional career path with someone with this degree, thinking about this, you really want to be strong in your math and sciences, and so we certainly, when it comes to high school, you don't take those lightly and want to focus in those math and sciences. And my recommendation is either, doing something like what I did and starting out in a 2-year program like veterinary technology and being able to graduate with that associate's degree. I think that that's a great experience, and you have that 2-year degree in front of you, and then you can actually use that degree to work with. If you want, you can go forward for a complete bachelor program, and a lot of the bachelor's programs that are probably most common are a 4-year, at a 4-year institution, would be in the fields of animal science or biology, zoology, maybe perhaps something like biotechnology. Those are probably the most common ones. And then you have another 4 years of veterinary school should you choose to go that route. But the AAS degree, in veterinary technology allows you to get that 2-year degree under your belt, and then you're able to actually work as a veterinary technician with that degree. The career opportunities, that for someone in the program or the courses that I am teaching, I think the thing with the veterinary technology degree is that it's a pretty focused program and pretty focused degree. So most of those students go out and and become employed as a veterinary technician. But again, sometimes those students will transfer on to 4-year institutions and complete their bachelor's in animal science or biology or whatever the case may be. So those options are certainly open for you. And as far as recommendations, if you guys are considering the program or thinking about veterinary technology in the future, I think experience is really, really a very important thing. So I started, volunteering and doing some work at humane shelters and with the local veterinarian, probably starting about 14, 15 years old, and just, got as much experience as I possibly could. That certainly will help you in the end. And because the veterinary technology program is very focused, you really get a good idea when you're out in those types of facilities if that's really something that you want to pursue or not.
Actually, I didn't start out college knowing that I wanted to get into technology. When I started school, I was a psychology major, thinking that I would spend my life helping people. Because at my heart and soul is a people lover, and I just wanted to do something to help people. I was working at the time in New York as an employee data center coordinator at a company called W.R. Grace, and I was in charge of their personnel system from the end user point of view. So I was working by day with technology and going to school by night, pursuing a degree in psychology, and sort of fell into this technical world just by being exposed to it. I worked very closely with the programmers. I used to write queries and reports, and I had to interface with them, and they said, "You have a pretty keen mind for this stuff. You should try it." And I kind of put things in the balance and weighed going after a 6-year degree to become a psychologist or getting out there in the job market pretty quickly. When you're working to put yourself through school, sometimes you opt for the shorter route. So I actually decided on this major somewhere around my 2nd year of college and stayed with it ever since. Now, what occupations do you believe that the major would help you to enter? Well, for me, upon graduation, I got a job as a programmer. I actually moved from New York to Connecticut to work in an insurance company as an application programmer. So for me, it was a natural progression. At the time, when I graduated from school, the primary need in the industry was for people to come in and write programs for mainframe systems, and so that's where I started. I transitioned from writing programs to managing programmers, and then ultimately to managing systems, and that's what I did in my former life before coming to being an educator. I think that someone who is interested in a major in technology today has far more options available to them than we did back in the 80s when I got into the field. So someone who's interested in going after a major in technology now, they can go down so many different pathways. You can go into computer security, programming. You can choose to work with just the data, become a database analyst. You can go down the pathway of being a technician. So there's several different paths that you can go depending on your interest. You can choose to, like I did, go down the path of management of systems, where you're now solving problems, but you're not solving problems at the micro level where you're looking at code, but you're looking at it more globally, trying to figure out how does technology help to improve the strategic position of a company or an organization. So the traditional pathways for someone who concentrates, for example, in MIS would be programming or database analysis or business analysis. And if you were to concentrate in some of the other areas, you may end up being a network engineer working primarily on the infrastructure, or you may end up being even getting over into the area of managing web design. Another area that is really growing these days in this field is the area of information system security. As far as students coming out with a 2-year degree, I must say that in this field, I went after the bachelor's and master's level, and so the opportunities that are afforded to people who are at that level are slightly different from those coming out of a 2-year school. I wanted to talk specifically about how students have been transitioning from an associate's degree into the marketplace. One of the challenges that I faced is that students in my program often are hired before they even finish their associate's degree in technology because there's such a demand for their skill set. And so for many of them, I try to persuade them to come back and finish, but very often that salary that they're earning out in the field working as a technician is a lot more attractive than coming to finish an associate's degree. So for some of our MIS majors, we've had them go off and become business analysts. I have one student who has been hired at Hewlett-Packard as a business analyst, and because she's majored in MIS, she's able to go and be the liaison that sort of bridges the gap between the IT world and the business world. Another student was just hired from Microsoft, and he's going to work as a SharePoint technician. Many of the IS majors end up as a first-tier technician doing help desk support, desktop support. Some have gone on to do network technician work. So we see that our students are migrating out into the marketplace, and they're being hired, usually right off the bat with a degree, or sometimes without a degree. There's some that will take this degree and transfer to a four-year school. Our MIS degree was actually developed for transfer purposes, so the students would not have to do a lot of repeated work when they get to the four-year schools. Our IS degree is really to prepare students to go out to the marketplace. I'd like to say that, like Michelle said about biotechnology, we just revised our information systems degree so that it is more in line with the skills that are required in industry today. So we've added a bunch of technical classes, and by the fall, our degree will be renamed Computer Information Technology, which happens to coincide with the same name as my master's program, but it really gives students an opportunity to focus, whether it's on a technical path, working with the hardware, or whether they want to do programming. It also gives them a foundation that is broad enough that they can explore many different options. For someone who is thinking about this field, my recommendation would be to explore. I never really had technology on my mind, and if I didn't have exposure to it, I probably would not have ended up in this field today. So I say explore, take a class, come to an event that exposes you to the career pathways that are available. On April 12th, we're having such an event where we're bringing in people from all different areas of IT to talk about what they do so that students can now interact with professionals and see if it would be a good fit. I say take a course, take a computer-related course and see if there may be some merit for this career pathway in your life. If you're someone who enjoys puzzles, you enjoy problem solving, if you enjoy working with computers, this may be just a really great fit for you. Okay. Just a little plug about our HIM program. Health Information Management is all about how we manage patient information. And we know that we have always done that, but now we have a new demand placed on that industry to do it using technology. So instead of coming into the doctor's office and having a folder, doctors are now coming in with tablets. And so now there's a great need for people who have technical skills who can help healthcare providers to manage all of that technical data. I invite you to our network event where we're bringing in HIM professionals who can talk more accurately about what it is like to work in this field. That's not my background. However, we're bringing in people with that skill set if you'd like to explore.
So this guy that I had been buying my glasses from in Brooklyn for 2 years now was my across the street neighbor. And not only was he a business owner that owned an optical business, multiple optical businesses for that matter, he also happened to be the program director of the Optician College in New York City, in Brooklyn, New York. So at the age of 21, I ran into him on the street one evening. I think it was probably arranged by my father. And he told me about this degree program, this 2-year degree program in the school at New York City Community College in Brooklyn. And he invited me down to the school and showed me around the place and showed me the things that opticians do, and offered me an opportunity to start the program just a few weeks later, which I did. And 2 years later, I had an associate's degree in applied science in ophthalmic dispensing. That was the name of the program there. And the whole time that I was going to school, I was working because they had both a daytime program and an evening program. So I was able to go out and work part of the day and go to school part of the day. I was taking some classes in the morning, working in the late morning, early afternoon, and then going back and taking night classes. So I was fortunate to actually get practical experience in the profession that I was training for. And that was very valuable to me. At the end of that 2-year period of time, I graduated. I passed my state board exams. It is a licensed profession in New York as it is in Connecticut. I actually have 2 licenses in New York, one as an ophthalmic dispenser or optician, and a second in fitting contact lenses. Here in Connecticut, it's an all-inclusive license that we prepare people for. Subsequently, I began working in optical businesses and realized that I wanted to teach, and knew that if I wanted a teaching position at the school I attended, that I would have to at least have a baccalaureate degree. So I, in my free time in the evening, began taking courses towards a bachelor's in community health. I did that at St. Joseph's College in Brooklyn, New York, graduating from that program in the mid-1980s. I started teaching at the school in Brooklyn on a part-time basis, later at another college program in Manhattan. And in 1987, found out that the state of Connecticut was going to decide to start an optician program here at Middlesex Community College. At the time, I decided that I should apply for the position, and I was fortunate to have been given the position of starting the very program that I continue to teach now 25 years, almost 26 years later. I started teaching here with only a baccalaureate degree, realized that if I wanted to be promoted, and we liked that idea because we get more money that way, to go up the academic ranks from assistant professor where I started to associate professor and full professor, I needed to have at least a master's degree, and so I sought that degree. I have a master's in education from what's now called the University of St. Joseph. St. Joseph's College, it used to be called, up in West Hartford. At the undergraduate level, it's a women's only college, but at the graduate level, it's a co-ed college. So I got my degree from St. Joe's in early 1990s, and it did help me get promoted. And I've been running the optician program here ever since. One of the things that I liked about the choice I made to become an optician was that it provided me with options, and I think that's important for all students, no matter what they're thinking about. If I choose a particular course of study, whether it's an HIM or a vet tech or radiologic tech or any of the programs that we offer here at the college, I think it is important to look at, are there options available to you? Is it more than one job that you're being prepared for? I was, for example, involved in working in an optical business that specialized in 2 areas. One was the area of contact lenses, and the other was the area of what we call low vision. And low vision is working with people that are visually impaired and require something other than just regular eyeglasses to be able to see. It might involve the use of telescopic devices or magnifying devices or electronic devices that help them to see. In the area of contact lenses, I had a private practice where I spent all of my time just dealing with the fitting of very difficult to fit contact lens problems, for example. The fact that I had those options was important to me because, frankly, I think I would have been bored otherwise. I had the option of specializing in contact lenses or low vision. I had the opportunity to continue my education and perhaps go on to teaching, which I decided to do. Some of our students decide that they want to go on to optometry school, like Kristen did with her training. She went from a 2-year degree vet tech program to becoming a veterinarian, a doctor. Some of our graduates have gone on to do that, becoming doctors of optometry, for example. I think it's important, again, that we provide a variety of potential pathways. If I were licensed as an optician, by the way, it is a licensed profession in the state of Connecticut. In order to get there, you have to graduate from an accredited program like ours. Not only is this college accredited, but some of our programs are nationally accredited as well. I know the Radiologic Tech program has national accreditation as we do. So if you graduate from our OD&D program, you are qualified to take a licensing exam in every state in the United States that licenses opticians. I think it's important that people recognize that there are a lot of different kinds of settings that people that enter the optical business might work in. An example is some of you that wear eyeglasses or wear contact lenses have gone to a lens crafters, for example. Here we actually have 2 businesses. We have an optical business called Lens Crafters, and we have a private practice with eye doctors. Those are 2 separate businesses. All right. In the optical business, there must be at least one licensed optician there at all times. Every minute of the day, every day of the week that they're open, there must be a licensed optician there. To get there, most licensed opticians come through this program, and they go through a series of tests. There are 2 written exams. They're national certification exams that all of our students take while they're in school, not waiting until they're done, but while they're in school, we have a 100% pass rate on both of those by the time of graduation. Upon completion of our degree, within 1 week of the time that you're granted your diploma, you would be eligible to take the state licensing practical exams. Optical contact lens exams are offered by the state of Connecticut Department of Health. They're administered here at the college using our facilities, using our equipment. Our students have a little bit of an advantage over other people taking the test because they're in familiar surroundings, using equipment that they have gotten used to. I'm very happy to say that in the last year, the college, the state, has invested significantly in our program. We bought all brand new lensometers. That's the equipment we use to measure the power of lenses. Brand new this past year. We bought 6 brand new biomicroscopes, an instrument that we use in the evaluation of contact lenses. And we've also added a video biomicroscope with a high definition TV, a 55-inch flat screen on the wall. So if I'm looking at a patient evaluating a contact lens, everyone in the class can see that. In addition, we just added a $20,000 what's called corneal topography unit, which is a unit that's designed to measure the surface of the cornea, the clear covering on the outside of our eye, onto which we place a contact lens. So between the new equipment that we have and a number of other exciting things that we've gotten donated to us recently, we have what I believe to be a state-of-the-art facility for training people to become opticians, and our success in getting people through their national certification exams and state licensing exams has been excellent. So I think that I have a career that is preparing people for good jobs. Students coming out of our program are starting in the $22 to $25 an hour range right out of school. That's usually accompanied by health insurance, even at some of the large corporate optical businesses like Walmart Vision Centers. They're offering health insurance to all of their full-time employees. It's the only way they can get them to work there if they don't offer the health insurance plans. And of course, there's also the ability to move forward. I got 30 seconds. 30 seconds. We have a baccalaureate degree that we've developed in optical business management at Charter Oak State College. I'd be happy to let anybody know about that if they're interested. My office is in Chapman Hall.
So I chose my major because I thought it was challenging and rewarding. When I was young, I liked to challenge myself, and now I still do. I still do. But so I was like, let's see, what's the most difficult major that uses a lot of math and also pay me decent. I got decent income after graduation. And also my family also played a role in this. My dad was also a electrical and aerospace engineer, and my mom works for an institute that made wireless communication products. So that's why I chose electrical engineering. Some of the other occupations besides engineer that I think my major would allow me to get into, including scientist, professor, independent consultant, or management positions. So what is the traditional career path for someone with my degree? Usually most of the people got their bachelor's degrees first, and then many of them actually directly get into to get to graduate school to get their advanced degrees, masters, PhDs. And then they'll move on to a successful career, whether it's in academia or industry or government lab or engineering education. And also some other people that they immediately get into job market after they get their bachelor's degree, and then they continue with their graduate study while they're working. Because many company actually offers not only offers tuition waiver, but also offers incentives For example, my UTC, United Technologies, offers stock options for employees who complete their higher level degree. What career opportunities that would be viable for someone in my programs? For CET, Computer Engineering Technology programs, students are likely get into one of the three careers. One is IT professionals, including network administrator, systems analyst, or support specialist. The other category is programmers or software developers. And another one is computer hardware or software technologist or engineer. For computer science program, students are likely get into to become an engineer in one of the engineering fields. So including, for example, biomedical engineering, chemical engineering, environmental engineering, electrical engineering, computer engineering, so et cetera, et cetera. There are many engineering fields students can get into. So my recommendations for someone for students who's thinking about considering either CET program or engineering science program are, first one is to talk to your advisors or program coordinators about your intention, about your options and your future goals. Second is to make sure you declare a major instead of staying with general studies. Because I'll tell you why many opportunities are given to the students whose major are actually in certain fields. For example, our statewide LSSL program, that David is actually in it right now, are giving priorities to the students who are in engineering field or engineering technology field. And we have Epsilon Pi Tau Honor Society that only give to induct students are in the technology field. So academic awards are given to students based on their majors. And also declaring a major also help you keep a close relationship with your advisor. Most often the advisor also is the program coordinator, so that when you need recommendations for anything, this close relationship will come in handy. Next one is to make sure you're competitive and play to your strength, including go to each class on time, try your best for each assignment and test, and consciously develop your math and analytical and communication skills. Next one is to network, stay flexible with your career options, and gain some experience beyond classroom. I think joining a club is a good way to network. You can join computer club or robotics club, and or get into an honor society or professional society. It will help you network as well. Look for an internship or a summer job if you can. Last one is to build your resume from day one and keep it updated. So that's my field. Thank you.
I'm actually here because I'm a physical therapist. And so I'm here to discuss careers in physical therapy with you in that pathway. The first thing I'd like to say is thanks for coming today, because you, in my opinion, took the first biggest step in that you're here and you're trying to get information. And I would encourage you to attend sessions like this, because everyone here is really eager and willing to help you. And this is the best way to get information and be able to ask questions. So how did I get involved in this? Well, I went to a career fair just like this. I was a kid in school who was in an inner city. I was in an at-risk environment, and I didn't know what to do with my life. I was the first person in my family contemplating going to college, and so there were no expectations of me. They, I think, thought just graduate from high school, get a job, get married, and have kids, which is fine. But I had other aspirations, and more importantly, I had people in my corner, teachers and guidance counselors, that actually cared a lot about me, took me under their wing, and helped me to find my way. So what was I able to do with that? So at this career fair, I actually became interested. I like science, always liked math. I was thinking about law or medicine. I like both. But there was a physical therapist that came and spoke about the various career options and places that you could work. I like sports. I wanted to be in a gym. I like being outside. I like working with people. And I found that attractive. So I set up a time and I shadowed him. And he let me come and visit him at work. And that was the best thing I could ever do. And that is how I decided on physical therapy. So back in the day, in 1982 when I graduated, physical therapy only required a bachelor's degree. Yes, I'm officially old, I admit that. So you only needed a bachelor's degree. A few years after that, the educational level for entry in the profession became a master's, and now at this time, it's a doctoral level. So education requirements for most programs really only increase, they don't decrease. So one of the things is, you know, I'm a lifelong learner, I value that and believe in that, and many of your professions may have that as well in their pathways. I also got a master's degree in biology because I like science a lot, and I almost completed a second master's in science ed from St. Joe's where Ray went. So I do have the academic credentials. I have over 30 years of clinical experience, and I value all of that. And it brought me here, and I love being here at Middlesex, and there's a lot that Middlesex will have to offer you. With respect to the pathway in physical therapy, unfortunately, there are big gaps in physical therapy. One of the first entry points may be a rehab aid where you don't require any education, but then the next degree level is what they offer at community colleges, which is for physical therapy assistant, that's an associate's degree. And then the next big gap is the doctoral level to be a physical therapist. So that's a huge gap. I don't know how to fill that for you, but that's currently what exists. Now, many students come to see me and want to discuss physical therapy, which I enjoy. And the biggest decision is, do you want to be a PT assistant, which is the 2-year degree, or a physical therapist, which is the doctoral degree. So we, to help discern that, you need to look at how much time do you have to invest in your education? How much resources do you have? What is your own personal life like? And you're the expert on that, and I can help you make those other decisions. Some of the places, once you become a physical therapist, some of the places you can work, there's acute care hospitals, there's veterans hospitals, there are clinics, there are various rehab centers, nursing homes, home care, schools, educational environments. You can work in legislation, helping to pass laws and educate people as to the scope of practice and things that govern your profession. So you can go into research. There's many, many, many options. Sometimes students want to know, what is it like to work in the field? Would you do it over again? And my answer is yes, in a heartbeat. I was lucky enough, I think because I shadowed as well and I was making an informed decision, that I would do this all over again. It has been a really good fit for me. And for anyone considering a career in medicine, it's all about the fit. There's many different options that exist. And so here, these career panels really try to share information so you can find that fit for you. With respect to how did I get here at the college, well, it's funny, education is never wasted. Education truly opens doors for you that maybe you don't even know exist when you're first starting out. I would never have thought that I would be here running a rad tech program, an x-ray tech program. Like, that doesn't seem even congruent. And in fact, I used to work at Middlesex Hospital as a physical therapist, and now I'm over there as a professional and liaison for the college and, coordinating the rad tech program. So these aren't things you predict when you're first going for your, degrees. But this is what education does for you. So all of the different decisions you make, it's all about you and finding that fit and realizing that education is never wasted, that it's actually powerful and empowers you to make good decisions and to hopefully get a job that you like and that meets your family's needs and your personal needs. Regarding salaries and stuff, for physical therapy assistants, they make about half the salary of a PT. I was able to download the 2013 information. There's self-reporting and stuff that goes on. So basically, the biggest distinction is, where do you work? The different places you work and the level of degree that you hold usually earns you much more money. So jobs are really plentiful right now in the field. People are living longer. We have people that get hurt regularly. We treat patients of all genders and ages, walks of life. So it's a career that's growing, and a career where there's pretty good job security and placement, and good livable salary for people. So I'm happy to discuss with you physical therapy or other areas of medicine or rad tech at any time. My office is located in room 209 of Wheaton Hall, and I'm there most of the time.
When I worked in industry, I worked in a machinist apprenticeship, a tool and die apprenticeship, but the perception was that there's no future in this, you're wasting your time. So I figured out, I'm gonna go to work for an insurance company. And it so happened that Aetna had openings for electricians, and I served an apprenticeship there. Well, about 7 years later, they decided that they were gonna get rid of all of their in-house services. So basically, I was 4 for 4 at this point as far as major companies that I was working for. So I decided, well, this isn't working out so well. Although I'm making a good living, I'm tired of moving around. And I figured, well, what can I do to help myself? So I decided the best way to do it was to build like a toolkit, using the skills that I had and building on that. And since I was an electrician last, what I decided to do was I was going to go get, for the first 2 years at Tunxus, don't forget I started at 37, so mom and dad weren't going to pay for my education. So I did 2 years there, and I got my degree, my associates in general studies. I went to CCSU, and I earned my Bachelor of Science in Industrial Technical Management with a specialty in electrical systems because I was an electrician. And then I decided to go to school a little bit longer rather than getting a job in my field. And the reason why I chose to do that is I figured out, I'm going to get a job teaching, and I'm going to teach part-time and pay my student loans off a little bit faster. Not only that, but at the time my mother-in-law was having problems with Alzheimer's, and since I had to quit work and become Mr. Mom to go to school full-time, because if I had started at 37, I would have finished my master's at 50, 51 maybe. So what I did there was I went for my master's while my mother-in-law was still leading a decent quality of life. And then I started teaching part-time. And it's kind of funny the way that life works out sometimes, because what I eventually ended up doing was, and I ended up teaching manufacturing. At first I was teaching general ed courses as far as the technology studies pathway, and then one semester I had no courses to teach. I decided to go to Adjunct and take a refresher course, and I took CNC programming because I had a lot of experience on the manual machines. It turns out that the director of the program liked what he saw because I was working with students. I was used to teaching. I was able to help the instructor make key points in the class. And the instructor appreciated it because I was working with the students that happened to have the most difficulty. Well, one day, one of his employees got mad and walked off the job. So I'm sitting in the living room in my pajamas looking at the want ads because I needed a job. He calls me up and says, "How would you like to work for me?" I said, "I'll be right there." So basically it took me 40 minutes to get dressed and go up to Enfield from New Britain. I spoke to him about the job. I was given the job, and I started off as an EA. And the reason why I talk about a tool set is sometimes you don't end up going into your career for what you actually went to school for. But the fact that, one, you have a degree and you're willing to work at something really makes a difference. In fact, one of the members of our advisory committee once told me, he says, "It's not hard to separate yourselves in a very ordinary world." In other words, do the little bit extra that someone isn't willing to do, and you'll be amazed at the results that you get. So what happened was I ended up back in manufacturing because at Adjunct they have the most highly regarded manufacturing program in the entire state, and I gained experience there. And I ended up getting the job here because of my previous experience at Adjunct. Now, the funny part about all of this is the career that I had abandoned about 25 years ago, all of a sudden people are quitting, retiring, and dying far faster than they can ever be replaced. In fact, over the next 10 years, they expect 55,000 openings in manufacturing. And it's not only being a machine operator, although some of the students that go through our certificate program end up doing you can go into sales, engineering support, you can go into supervision. Basically, manufacturing now is being rediscovered in this state, and the reason why it's being rediscovered is for two reasons. One, for every manufacturing job you create in this state, it creates almost 2 other jobs because of the multiplier effect. Number 2, people make higher than average wages. In this state, if you're in manufacturing, the average pay is over $50,000 a year. And some of them make a lot more than that, depending on experience, academic background, and a lot of them work overtime. In fact, some of my students leave the program and make more than I do. And I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying that. And there are different paths to get there. One of them is the certificate that we offer here. In a 1-year certificate, the students earn 30 credits, which can either be applied to the degree here or transferred to CCSU. Just the base pay, not counting any overtime. They make, I'd say probably around 35,000. With overtime, some of them will make about 45,000. That's not bad for a 1-year certificate. In fact, I recommend for some students, even if they want to go to school for something else, take the time to take the certificate, because you'll make 3 times more money than you will flipping cheeseburgers. There's nothing wrong with working at McDonald's. It's an honest living. In fact, I have much more respect for those people than the person that sits home and waits for the next handout. But give yourself some choices. Education is worth it, even if things don't work out exactly the way that you plan. Because as you go on, you build a toolkit, you build a skill set, and you never know when you're going to call upon it again. In my case, when I left industry, I never expected to bother with this again. In fact, I had given away a lot of my tools. Some of them got rusted sitting in the basement. I didn't even care. I just threw them out and figured, well, so what? Wish I had them now, though. Okay. Now, for our programs here, and the certificate program, most of the people that go through our certificate program here learn how to run computer-controlled machinery. That's the focus of our program. So the way that it works is people learn about about programming. They also learn about the basics of operating traditional tool room machinery. They learn how to read and interpret drawings. There's also shop math. Basically, and this is something that Professor Frost told me when she was my instructor here over 20 years ago. I don't want to say her age. But what she told me is, in general, the more math you take, the more money you make. And then there's also some truth in that. So there's the math component. We teach computer-aided drafting as part of the program. We also teach how companies run their organizations, like principles of lean, to be able to use statistics. So the stats course that you're taking here, if you decide to go into manufacturing, isn't wasted. We also, let's see. Yeah, that's most of the program. So our program consists of 10 courses and 2 labs. And a person starting this program can either finish the certificate in 1 academic year if they go during the day. If they go at night, it takes a calendar year. Now, considering where you end up going to school for just 1 year, that's not bad. And the opportunities get even better as you move higher in terms of your education. For example, some students will take the general studies portion of the degree and decide that someday they're going to go into management. Well, most people go into supervision for 2 reasons. One of them is they like the idea of having authority, which isn't a bad thing. It's just a statement of fact. And the other thing is they're going to make more than most of the people that are working for them. That's the other reason why they do it. And people can go to CCSU and go up to a master's degree in this kind of stuff if they want to. The opportunities are there. Like I said earlier, 1/3 of the workforce in manufacturing is going to retire over the next 10 years. The typical person in manufacturing looks too much like me. Gray, and maybe could lose a few pounds. And that's just the flat out truth. And it's actually work that's challenging, it's interesting. One of the things that companies are doing today is they're looking at people as an asset. And if you can work as part of a team, playing nice and being able to work with others helps you a lot in this line of work. Because what's going to separate one company from another is how they use their people and how their people can benefit them. And it isn't a one-way street. One of the good things about this type of work is the more productive you are, the more money you can make. There's opportunity there. And I never thought that I would say, I wouldn't have said this 25 years ago. In fact, I would have been just like my parents. You don't want to go into manufacturing. It's dirty. No, it isn't. All of those dirty, repetitive, monotonous, sweatshop type of jobs are gone because they can get people overseas to do it for a lot less. What's left is the high-skilled stuff, needing computer skills, the ability to work with numbers, the ability to work as part of a team and work with others. So it's one of the things that I think that you should consider. And like I said, basically what you need more than anything else is, and this is true for any line of work you go into, a good attitude. Be willing to do something that the next person isn't willing to do. Like I said earlier, it's not hard to separate yourselves in a very ordinary world. Look at work as a challenge, something that you want to do because it keeps your mind occupied. It also builds other skills. And the other thing is, if you're somebody that likes to work with your hands, this is something that you should consider. And I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I really enjoyed this, and I hope I was able to keep your attention and maybe pique somebody's interest.